If you were a criminal in 1969, running from the California Highway Patrol in some stolen muscle car, doing 140 on an open highway, you probably thought you had a chance. And you would have been wrong. Because the cop behind you was driving a Dodge Polara Pursuit with a 440 Magnum V8, making 375 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, in a full-size four-door sedan that had been clocked at 149.6 miles per hour at Chrysler's Proving Ground in Chelsea, Michigan. A factory four-door sedan, almost hitting 150. That record would not be broken by another four-door car until 2006, when a Hemi Dodge Charger hit 150 during Michigan State Police testing, 37 years later. And the CHP bought 1,564 of these things for about $2,328 each. That is less than half the civilian sticker price. They got air conditioning, they got the full 440 Magnum, and they got a car that could run 0 to 60 in roughly 6.3 seconds and rip through the quarter mile in about 14.3 seconds at over 99 miles per hour. In 1969, this was not a muscle car pretending to be a police car. This was a police car that could embarrass most muscle cars. And here is the part that makes this whole story so strange. America built the fastest police cars the world had ever seen, and then killed them in less than a decade. To understand how we got there, you have to go back to 1955. California. The CHP had a problem. Hot rods were everywhere, and the patrol cars could not catch them. So the CHP went to Buick and said, "Build us something fast." Buick responded with the Century Model 68, a lightweight two-door body with a 322 cubic inch nailhead V8, rated at 236 horsepower and Roadmaster brakes. They built 270 of them, and essentially every single one went to the CHP for about $2,490 each. Top speed was around 115 miles per hour. If that car looks familiar, it is because it became the patrol car on the TV show Highway Patrol with Broderick Crawford. Only about 2 of these survive today. But the real arms race started when Chrysler entered the game. Dodge launched its first official police package on the 1956 Coronet, and Plymouth followed aggressively in 1957 with tiered offerings. An Economy Sentinel 6 for basic work, a Metro Patroller for the city, and a Highway Pursuit Special for the open road. The big blocks escalated quickly. A 413 making 360 horsepower arrived in 1963, and by 1966, the 440 wedge at 365 horsepower became the standard police engine. The CHP even specified a 426 wedge with front disc brakes that year, an option other agencies could not even get. And this is important because by 1970, When you called the police in America, the officers arriving were driving a Mopar roughly 85% of the time. Chrysler sometimes held an 80% share of the entire police market, while only having about 12 to 14% of the overall consumer market. That is an absurd level of dominance. And these were not just regular cars with a light bar bolted on. Chrysler's police pursuit package was a genuinely different machine. Heavy-duty suspension with thicker sway bars, a reinforced frame, oversized police brakes, a Dana 60 rear axle, a certified 140 mile/hour speedometer, a 500 amp heavy-duty battery with heat shield, a larger radiator with oil coolers, and special pursuit-rated tires. Ford competed mostly on engine power with their police interceptor motors, using solid lifters, better valve springs, aluminum intakes, and larger carburetors. But Ford had a reputation for weak brakes, and some testing agencies rejected them outright on braking alone. The 1969 Polara was the peak. A CHP test required engines of at least 420 cubic inches running on 100-octane fuel, a minimum 82 mile/hour, quarter-mile trap speed, 115 at 1 mile from a standing start, and 125 at 2 miles. The Dodge 440 ran a 95.6 mile/hour quarter and hit 146.7 after 3 miles, beating Mercury 429 and Oldsmobile 455 entries. The CHP was so important to Chrysler that the company made department-specific parts, and the CHP had its own custom camshaft grind. The LAPD's 383-powered Belvedere Pursuit earned the nickname Four-Door Roadrunner, because that is if you like these topics about cars that are no longer made, and the stories behind why they disappeared. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming ones. And then it all fell apart. Not because of one thing, but because of everything happening at once. The Clean Air Act of 1970 mandated a 90% cut in emissions and pushed catalytic converters and unleaded fuel. Compression ratios started dropping in 1971. In 1972, the industry switched from gross horsepower ratings to net ratings, which made the numbers on paper look even worse than the real mechanical decline. The Pontiac GTO's 400 went from 366 horsepower in 1970 to 200 by 1974. And the police 440s followed the same curve. 375 in 1969, down to about 280 by 1974. Then, in October of 1973, the OPEC oil embargo hit, and gasoline prices quadrupled from roughly 30 cents to $1 and 20 cents a gallon. Suddenly, a pursuit car getting 7 to 13 miles per gallon became a budget nightmare. And on January 2nd, 1974, the federal government signed the 55 mile per hour national speed limit into law. Just like that, the operational justification for a 150 mile per hour patrol car vanished overnight. Why would you need a car that could do 150 when nobody on the road was legally allowed to go faster than 55? By 1978, the fastest factory police car, the Dodge Monaco 440, could manage only about 126 miles per hour. And then came the absolute bottom. The 1980 to 1981 Dodge St. Regis. In California spec, this car had a 318 V8 choked down to 155 horsepower, and its top speed collapsed to approximately 85 miles per hour, or 65 going uphill. The CHP bought 900 of them for about $7,091 each, and officers called them dog cars. The cars chewed through tires from alignment problems, blew heater cores, and were pulled from service after just 2 years instead of the usual 3. Think about that. The same agency running 149 mile per hour Polaras a decade earlier now had patrol cars that could not outrun a Volkswagen on an incline. And here is the cruelest irony. The CHP's response to the St. Regis disaster was to adopt the 1982 Ford Mustang 5.0 SSP, a car that did 0 to 60 in 6.3 seconds and out-accelerated a Ferrari 308. Departments never stopped wanting speed. They proved the moment technology allowed it that they still craved fast cars. The Mustang in '82, the Hemi Charger in 2006, the 148 mile per hour Explorer today. The desire never died. What died was the era that made it possible to put a 440 in a giant sedan and send it down the highway at nearly 150. But there is a deeper paradox here. There is a phrase in law enforcement that has been around for decades. You cannot outrun Motorola. It means no matter how fast a suspect drives, they cannot outrun the radio network that positions other officers ahead of them. Even a slant 6 diplomat that needed 21 seconds to reach 60 still caught fast cars, because the radio was always faster. And the human cost of ignoring that reality was staggering. From 1979 through 2013, federal records show that at least 11,500 people were killed in police pursuits. Roughly 5,000 of the dead were passengers or bystanders who had nothing to do with the chase. About one person dying every single day, and studies found that only about 9% of those chases even involved a violent crime suspect. Today, the Ford Police Interceptor utility, basically an Explorer with a 400 horsepower EcoBoost, tops out at 148 miles per hour. The Dodge Charger Pursuit, the last Pursuit-rated sedan available to American law enforcement, was discontinued after 2023, ending the sedan cruiser era entirely. The cruiser as we knew it is gone. The 1969 Dodge Polara Pursuit did not disappear because it failed. It disappeared because the country changed around it. Emissions laws strangled the engines. The oil crisis made them unaffordable. The speed limit made them unnecessary. And the body count from pursuits made them a liability. But every time a 148 mile per hour Explorer rolls out of Michigan State Police testing, it is quietly proving that the idea behind the '69 Polara never actually died. We just lost the version of it that put a big block V8 behind a badge and a bench seat and let the highway sort out the rest.